years. If you figure that they've been around for thousands of years, 100,000 years, millions of years, they have advanced. And think about where we will be 1,000 years from today, how much we will advance. And think about the old guys. Okay. Now this is a drawing of one of the type of extraterrestrial. That's something else too. Like people, when they think of extraterrestrial, they either think of the Northern, Pleiadian, the Arcturian, the Orion that looks like us. Well, there are some that looks like us, but they don't necessarily have to look like us, and they're intelligent. Like now, the story behind this picture here is that a very good friend of mine in Seattle, Washington, he's an artist. He used to be a police artist. So what he does, he spends his whole time drawing pictures from all over the world, actually, where people that have been abducted, had interaction with the UFOs, they describe them to him, and he draw the picture. Now this particular picture here, the lady that told him is that he was a doctor, and he did some kind of surgery on her for cancer. And the whole time, he had his head covered with a hood over his head. The reason he did that because she would be afraid and faint, which she probably would have. And so after the operation was over, he came back with the hood off of his head, and then she did faint. But she was well afterward. And she went back to the doctor. The doctor, they couldn't figure out what had happened overnight like that. She's well. They couldn't figure out. And not only in this case here, there's other cases too where people have been sick, and they, and then they go back and they're well. Okay, this is another type. This is a type of gray. These are the conservative type. They're short, and they live under the ground. They don't associate with people in other extraterrestrials. They're underground, and they haven't been seen, but they don't show themselves that much. I think that two people that describe this particular type to David Chase, which is the name of the gentleman in Seattle that is the artist. Okay, now this is in Panama. This is where we every year, or once a year, we have what we call a missile shoot. That's where we take all our missiles out, and everybody do what they're supposed to do. They test it. You get tests, like how well you can do your job, get certified. So on this beach, we take over that beach. So this is a normal beach on Friday before we get there. All the people out on the beach, they're doing whatever they want to do. And so once we get there, we clear all of them out, kick them out, and they have to go, so that we have the whole beach by ourselves. Okay, this is what it looked like when we have it. Nothing's there. But this particular time, the craft came down and landed here, and we are back here. And the individuals, these beings, they came up and they put us in some type of hypnotic state, semi-hypnotic state, and they were walking amongst us. And they landed their craft on the beach. And they, I got a slide of them. They look kind of like a hybrid of a gray. Okay. Now this is another type of a gray. Now this has been seen by a lot of people, but some in uniform, some is not. Now when I was abducted when I was 16 years old, there was one similar to this guy here, except the eye wasn't yellow like this eye. His eye was black. It's like a regular gray eye. He had a little pupil in here. He didn't have the emblem. He just had one plain uniform. And these are known as sentinel on craft. A lot of people that said that claim they've been on mothership, these type like Ursha, they just take them around. Because when I was on that craft, when I was abducted, they had similar type, and he would take me around to different places about that tall, not tall at all. And about that, they've been around longer than any of us, any other being. And some of the metaphysical spiritual people say that they lost their soul, they're trying to get this soul back, they're trying to take it from us and this and that. I don't know. All I know, I've seen them, I've interacted with them, but I don't know what the story behind them. But what I do know is that they serve like the in-between between us and them, whoever them might be. Even the other humanoid type people, you have humanoid type aliens, and they interact between us here and those beings up there, whether they're humanoid or not, because they can raise and lower their vibration frequency enough. They can lower their vibration to operate with us and high enough to take it back up. And so most of the beings that I found out, the people told me that they would come down here, that they wouldn't last too long, they would die because of the pollution, you know, their systems. Because let's say if we would go out of planet, if our astronauts did not have the space, so we wouldn't last too long. Same there. But these guys here, they could do that. And they're only supposed to have a lifespan, something like 300 to 400 years, our years. And most of the other type ET, like the Pleiadian, the Arcturus, Orion, they can live anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000, 5,000 years old or more. And the ones that do all the exploration, they the ones that have to show alive. But the ones that stays on the planet, they live no long lives. But they don't look at death as we do. They look like it's a transition from one level to another. Now we just get into the metaphysical stuff, but I just want to say this. But they look at it going over again because they will come back. See, like when we die, so to say, we go in. We're not aware of now. We know that we think that we can come back into another life. When some of the metaphysical spiritual people say that we will come back as a cat, we will come back as that person, we can come back as a grave. But they know in advance where they can come back at, where they can go to already because they know how to do it. Eventually down the road we could figure that out too. But now this is the people that came up on the beach that day. Remember I tell you about the one that landed the crab? They look similar like this. This drawing by as close as could be done. But there were 7 of these particular beings, and this guy seemed to be the leader because he had that little like a ruby on his collar. The rest of the guys, they didn't have that. And this guy had something like a little crystal rod in his hand. They didn't have that. So what happened was when they landed their craft, you know, there was a lot of mist, like golden mist around the craft. We couldn't see the craft. We saw it up in the air when it came down and it landed on the beach. We saw that, but we couldn't see it for a few seconds. Then that mist had just disappeared, and then we saw the craft. While we looked at the craft, these guys showed up out of the middle of nowhere walking amongst us. We knew that they were there, but we couldn't react to it. We couldn't do anything. We could not react to it like they had us in a hypnotic state. And they didn't say anything. They didn't even, you know, usually ET, they telepathically communicate with you. They didn't do anything. They just looked at us. I mean, they didn't try to communicate with us. And we had all our missiles, our radar and stuff lined up on the beach and stuff. They didn't seem to be interested in that too much. They looked at it, but they just kept looking at us up and down, coming in front of us. Now, one thing about these guys, excuse me, they had an awful odor to them. They smelled kind of like garlic, you know, battery acid, ammonia. Put that in together, then you, that's what they smelled like. They were about 5 feet tall and probably about 100 pounds or so. And he had this little belt-like thing on. He had that, and they had the shoes kind of like little cover shoes, like what they wear in the hospital. The scientists wear to cover their feet. So that's what they had. They didn't have any hair. And the mouth was small, and the eyes kind of like gray, but it was a little bit more slanted than what this drawing shows here. And they have a small nose, and they just walking amongst us. 7. They was spread out. There were about 7 of soldiers down on that beach there. And there was picture takers because some people that were far away, they saw what was going on. They took the picture. They were floating around for a while. But at that time, 1965, that wasn't a priority because the priority was we were going to get nuked off the face of the earth because that was the height of the nuclear wall, and we were all concerned about that at that time, you know, and that wasn't a big deal. Okay. Now this is another type of grade. This is one that I think is similar to one that Witness Shrevon's book, you might know. And but The reason this picture here, they show that they come in different, they are different colors. Some of them are chocolate white, and some of them is gray, some are even this color. But they are different. And what I found out also about the gray, now a lot of people say that they are clone and they are robot. But what I found out that some of them are cloned and are robot, and that could count why some people think that they don't have a soul. But when I was on this craft, when I was 16 years old, when I was abducted, the true gray, which I had heard a lot of people also talk about, that they are tall. You know, the real true gray, the real live, they're tall. And when I was on that craft, that little one taking me around to different places, there will always seem to be one in charge. And he would have his arms folded, and just there, like he would tell him what to do. You know, even the humanoid people, he would tell them what to do. You know, I mean, telepathically. You look at them, they were communicating like a bunch of people in the room talking to each other but not saying anything. And they would telepathically. Each and every place that I went to, they would communicate. Okay, this is in Brazil. This is a place here. This is called Alto Paraiso. This is in Minas Gerais state. We went to this place here, and so the people in that town, they were telling us about these beings that look like humans, that they would come up to the town, the little village there, and they would buy their supplies. And they would always pay in gold, lots of gold, you know. And so, you know, when there's gold, people gonna start wondering where it came from. So they followed these beings. They followed those people out there. And so they followed down, they stayed behind. So these beings went into a little dirt road. The road went back up in the mountain, and the road got right to the mountain, stopped. There's nothing else. It didn't go nowhere else. Okay, this is another type of being that was up in Fort Taleza, outside of Fort Taleza. They described, this is one of the type of being they described down there. This being is pretty popular down there, but I never seen one of these in the United States. At least I don't know of anything like that. I've never seen a picture, could be, but I've never seen one. Okay, now, this is the reptilian. Now, there's something about the reptilian, as we know it, people that interact with these guys, there's about 20 different types of those type aliens, ET, whatever you want to call them. Some is mean, some is not. This is supposed to be one of the good guys here. Now down in Brazil, they have a reptilian down there too, but the eyes is different, and they're more husky type, and they're the mean one. People fear those down there. We went to one place that I'll talk about a little later. One of the slides that the people, they would get abducted by these things, and then they'll bring them back and put them back. So after that, people would just be afraid. They wouldn't drive at night. When we were down there, they would tell us, say, be careful, don't get caught on the road at night. They were paranoid. Don't get caught on the road at night. And we talked to one guy, his wife was married at a little town. He was coming home one night, and then this craft above his car had the light shining down on this father, and it shined all around, and he got scared. And then he jumped out of his car, ran behind a big rock and hid. So the craft came down low and shined a light, looking around, looking for him. And so he went back to town, about 5 miles. He said he walked about 5 miles back downtown and told the people, and the people thought he was crazy. He said, I wasn't crazy. People thought he was crazy, And then he said, wife tried to tell him, don't talk about this because, she'd have married. She got this image she got to keep, her husband, seeing things, how they can look for her, And so the next night, one of the principal, one of the local schools, and one of the teachers, they were coming home one night in the same light, doing them the same way. And so they went back and they told what happened to them, and then they got this guy off the block, that saw this thing. So everybody started looking for these creatures. But what they would say that they would tie them up. Some of the stories, some of the people, I think they would exaggerate a little bit. So they would tie them up and they'll poke them with some type of sticks and stuff like that. But people have a tendency to exaggerate on these things. You have to, do your own judgment on that. Okay, now this is a map of the Washington area. Do I have that? Well, anyway, this is Seattle here. This is Seattle. This is I-5 going north. You got Canada right up in here, Vancouver County here. I live here on a place called Stadwood, Washington. And the Puget Sound is here. The Puget Sound is just a waterways off of the ocean. Right here, my little farm was right in there, and that's where this craft came down, and I was invited aboard that craft. This is another talk itself. This was about 4 o'clock in the evening. I actually came down, a real live craft. They came down, and the people, well, I didn't see the craft, but the people appeared in my living room, and they invited me aboard to talk to them. This is another talk within itself, too. I won't go too much into that, but that was most on metaphysical type thing. I won't go into that. But anyway,